embarking on an extraordinary journey, a peaceful journey to ancient Egypt. We are going to experience the timeless Egypt of mythology, where gods once walked the earth, where the Nile has flowed for thousands of years, where the desert holds secrets whispered across millennia. As we begin this journey together, I invite you to settle into complete comfort. Adjust your position one last time. Let your body sink deeply into your bed. Feel the support beneath you, holding you, allowing you to release all effort, all tension. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose and let it go with a gentle sigh. Again, breathing in and out. One more time. In and out. Beautiful. We arrived in Egypt on a perfect evening in early autumn. The intense heat of day is mellowed into something warm but gentle. The air carries the scent of the Nile, water and papyrus, ancient stone warmed by the sun, now cooling under emerging stars. We'll walk beside the sacred river as twilight deepens. We'll visit the legendary city where creation itself began. We'll stand before temples dedicated to gods whose stories shaped civilization for 3,000 years. And we'll rest beneath stars that the ancient Egyptians believed the blessed dead dwelled in eternal peace. There's nowhere else you need to be, nothing else you need to do. Just be here with me as we discover the mythological heart of ancient Egypt together. Let's begin. We begin our journey on the banks of the great Nile River, just as the sun approaches the western horizon. The time is perhaps 6 o'clock, that golden hour when the day softens, when light transforms everything it touches into something magical. The Nile flows beside us, its waters dark and peaceful, reflecting the changing colors of the sky. This is the river the ancient Egyptians called the giver of life, the sacred stream that brought fertility to the land through its annual floods. But the Nile was more than just a river to the Egyptians. It was part of their creation story, a manifestation of the primordial waters called Nun, the dark, formless, infinite ocean that existed before there were gods or humans, before earth and sky. We stand here on the eastern bank, the side of sunrise and rebirth. Beneath our feet, the earth is cool and dark. The famous black earth the Egyptians called Kemet. This rich soil, deposited by the annual floods, was seen as a gift from the tears of Isis, the great goddess who mourned her husband Osiris. Palm trees sway gently in the evening breeze. Papyrus plants grow in clusters along the water's edge, their feathery tops nodding peacefully. A white ibis stands motionless in the shallows, sacred to Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing, the divine scribe who recorded the judgment of the dead. The air smells of water and growing things, of lotus flowers opening their petals to catch the last warmth of day. The lotus was sacred to the Egyptians, a symbol of rebirth, because it closes at night and reopens with the sun. We begin to walk slowly along the riverbank, following an ancient path. There's no hurry. Our pace is gentle, meditative, matching the slow rhythm of the river beside us. As we walk, the sun sinks lower, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. The ancient Egyptians would have watched this same sunset and seen it as a journey of Ra, the sun god, beginning his nightly voyage through the Duat, the underworld. Each sunset was understood as Ra growing old, transforming from his midday strength into autumn, the elderly sun descending toward the western horizon. But this wasn't an ending, it was a transformation. Ra would journey through 12 hours of darkness, battling the serpent of chaos called Apophis, and emerge, reborn at dawn. The concept brought comfort to the Egyptians. If even the great sun god had to descend into darkness, yet always returned, perhaps human souls too could navigate the perils of death and achieve rebirth. The sun touches the horizon now, a perfect golden disk. We find a smooth stone near the water's edge and sit, facing west, watching this daily miracle. The stone is still warm from the day, holding us comfortably. As the sun sinks lower, the colors deepen. Oranges and pinks and deep purples layer across the horizon. The Egyptians saw this moment as sacred, the boundary between day and night, between the world of the living and the realm of the gods. The sun slips below the horizon. The direct light fades, but the sky continues to glow, the colors deepening, becoming richer. Stars begin to appear one by one. The Egyptians believed these stars were the imperishable ones, souls of the blessed dead who had passed through judgment and achieved eternal life in the field of reeds, a paradise where they could enjoy an idealized version of earthly life forever. We rise from our stone seats. The Nile flows on beside us, dark now, its surface catching occasional glimmers of starlight. This eternal river, flowing as it has flowed for thousands of years, continuing its journey just as the gods intended. It's time to continue our own journey. A sacred city awaits us, the place where the Egyptians believed creation began. We're walking now through the twilight, moving inland from the Nile toward the ancient city the Greeks called Heliopolis, the city of the sun. The Egyptians knew it as Unu, one of the most sacred places in all of Egypt. This is where the priests developed the Heliopolitan cosmogony, one of the great creation myths that explain how the ordered world emerged from primordial chaos. The path beneath our feet is ancient, trodden by pilgrims for thousands of years. Around us, the landscape is peaceful, scattered palm trees, fields lying quiet in the gathering dusk, the air cooling as night approaches. As we approach the sacred precinct, we can see the Ben stone in the distance, a pyramid-shaped monument that symbolized the very first solid ground to rise from the waters of Nunit creation. According to the myth, this was where Atum, the creator deity, first appeared, arising from the chaotic waters through an act of self-creation. We enter the sacred grounds. Oil lamps are beginning to be lit, their flames creating pools of warm light in the deepening twilight. The scent of incense drifts on the air, frankincense and myrrh, sacred resins that have perfumed this place for millennia. This creation story is beautiful in its simplicity. In the beginning, there was only none, the dark, formless waters. From these waters, Atum arose upon the primeval mound, finding himself alone in the cosmos, complete within himself, containing both male and female aspects. He brought forth his first children. The myth says he created Shu, god of air and dryness, and Tefnut, goddess of moisture. These deities emerge either from the divine semen, or in other versions, from Atum's sneeze and saliva, bodily fluids serving as symbols of divine creative power. But then Shu and Tefnut became separated from their father in the dark waters. Grieving for his lost children, Atum sent his eye, later associated with the goddess Hathor, to search for them. Upon their joyful reunion, Atum's tears of happiness fell to earth and transformed into the first human beings. It's a touching detail, this idea that humanity originated from a divine tears of joy. The Egyptians believed humans were related to the gods through shared essence, divine beings connected to them. We walk through a columned hall now, massive pillars rising on either side. The columns are carved to resemble papyrus bundles, their capitals spreading at the top like the plant's feathery heads. On the walls, we can see reliefs depicting the rest of the creation story. Shu and Tefnut mated to produce the next generation. Geb, the earth god, and Nut, the sky goddess. These deities were initially joined in a tight embrace, with Nut arched over Geb in cosmic union. But their father Shu separated them, lifting Nut high above to form the vault of heaven, and forcing Geb to lie beneath as the earth. The space between became our world, the realm of air and atmosphere. Despite their forced separation, Geb and Nut managed to conceive 5 children before being permanently parted. These were Osiris, Isis, Set, Nephthys, and Horus the Elder. Together with their ancestors, they formed the great Ennead of Heliopolis, the 9 primary gods who would shape Egyptian religion for thousands of years. We find a quiet corner of the temple and sit on a cool stone bench. The evening has fully arrived now. Through the open courtyard above, we can see stars beginning to fill the sky. The priests here at Heliopolis taught that creation wasn't a single act, completed and done. It was an ongoing process that had to be continually maintained against the forces of chaos that threatened to reclaim the ordered cosmos. Every sunrise represented a victory for order. Every proper ritual helped sustain cosmic balance. This concept of Ma'at, cosmic order, truth, balance, and justice, was fundamental to everything the Egyptians believed. Without Ma'at, they thought the universe itself would cease to function, would dissolve back into the formless waters of Nun. We sit here in the peaceful temple, feeling the ancient stones around us, breathing in the incense-scented air. This place has witnessed prayers and rituals for thousands of years. The walls have absorbed countless voices raised in hymns to the sun god. But our journey isn't over. Another sacred city is called to us, a place where a different creation story unfolded, where the world was brought into being through the power of divine thought and speech. We're traveling now to Memphis, the ancient capital, a city sacred to Ptah, the creator god who brought the world into being through a different kind of creation, not through physical generation, but through the power of his heart and tongue. The night is fully upon us now. The stars are brilliant overhead. countless thousands of them filling the sky from horizon to horizon. The Milky Way stretches like a river of light, a celestial Nile flowing across the heavens. Memphis is quiet at this hour. The great city sleeps, but the temple of Ptah remains a place of sacred energy, of quiet power. We approach its entrance, marked by massive pylons, slanted walls that seem to reach toward the stars. The Memphite theology, as it's called, presents creation in a remarkably sophisticated way. According to the priests here, Ptah conceived the universe in his heart, his mind, and spoke it into existence with his tongue. We enter the temple precinct. The air here is still and cool, scented with ancient incense that has seeped into the very stones. A few oil lamps burn in wall niches, creating gentle pools of light. This creation through divine speech is profound. By conceiving the universe in his mind and calling it into being with his commanding voice, Ptah created not just physical reality, but also abstract concepts, divine principles, cultural institutions. The Memphite priests claimed that Ptah had conceived even the other creator gods in his heart and called them into being. Adam himself was but a thought of Ptah, given reality through divine utterance. We move deeper into the temple to a chamber where hieroglyphs cover every surface. Even in the dim lamplight, we can make out some of the carved symbols, the language of the gods, as the Egyptians called it. Thoth was believed to have invented hieroglyphic writing. The ibis-headed god of wisdom and magic. He was the divine scribe who recorded everything: the days of the year, the judgment of the dead, the resolution of conflicts between the gods. His wisdom often resolved disputes through words rather than weapons, demonstrating the Egyptian belief in the power of knowledge and literacy. To be able to read and write was to possess a kind of magic, to have access to the power of creative speech. We find a place to sit in the sanctuary, the Holy of Holies. A single lamp burns here, its flame steady and unwavering. The chamber feels sacred, not intimidating but peaceful, a space set apart for quietness and contemplation. The idea that the world was spoken into existence, that divine thought and speech could create reality. This anticipated concepts that would appear in later religious traditions by thousands of years. The Greeks would develop the idea of logos, divine reason and speech. But the Egyptians had understood this principle in their own way, millennia earlier. We close our eyes for a few moments, sitting in this ancient sanctuary. The cool air, the scent of stone and sacred oils, the profound quiet that fills this space. The Egyptians believed that words had power. To know something's true name was to have power over it. To speak correctly with proper knowledge and ritual purity could affect physical reality, could heal illnesses, repel dangers, transform substances, or communicate with supernatural realms. This wasn't superstition to them. It was the proper application of cosmic laws, the understanding that reality was fundamentally responsive to properly formulated speech. We rise slowly, quietly, respecting the sacred atmosphere. As we make our way back through the temple, we pass reliefs, showing Ptah, depicted as a mummiform figure, holding a staff that combines symbols of life, stability, and power. The night air feels fresh as we emerge from the temple. The stars still blaze overhead. Memphis sleeps peacefully around us. But there's one more sacred story we must explore. The myth that touched every Egyptian heart. The tale of death, love, betrayal, and resurrection that gave them hope for eternal life. We must journey to Abydos, the sacred city of Osiris. We're traveling through the night now, moving south along the Nile toward Abydos. The journey is peaceful. The desert air is cool and clean. The stars are constant companions overhead. Somewhere in the distance, a jackal calls, a wild, lonely sound that echoes briefly before fading into silence. The Egyptians associated jackals with Anubis, the god of mummification, the jackal-headed deity who guided souls through the afterlife and weighed their hearts against the feather of Mot. As we approach Abydos, we can feel the sacredness of this place. This is where Osiris himself was said to be buried, where his head rested in the earth, where the greatest mystery of Egyptian religion unfolded. The story of Osiris is one of the most complete and moving myths to survive from ancient Egypt. It's a tale of betrayal and devotion, of murder and resurrection, of chaos and order restored. We enter the sacred precinct of Abydos. Even at this late hour, oil lamps burn throughout the temple complex. This place never truly sleeps, for it holds the promise of eternal life. The story begins in Egypt's primordial past, when gods still walked the earth as rulers. Osiris, son of Geb and Nut, became Egypt's first king. He was a cultural hero, teaching humans agriculture, establishing religious practices, giving them laws, introducing the cultivation of grain and grapes. Under his benevolent guidance, Egypt flourished in a golden age. There was no hunger, no warfare, no injustice. Mot reigned supreme. By his side ruled Isis, his sister wife, a goddess renowned for magical powers and cunning intelligence. Together they embody the ideal divine couple, bringing prosperity to the land, serving as models for human marriages. But their harmonious reign awakened the jealousy of their brother Set, god of deserts, storms, disorder, and foreign lands. Set's motivations were complex: personal ambition, resentment of Osiris's popularity, desire for Isis, and perhaps a cosmic dimension. As a lord of the desert, he naturally opposed Osiris, who represented the fertile Nile. Set's murderous plot unfolded at a lavish banquet. He presented an exquisitely crafted chest, announcing he would give it to whomever it fit perfectly. When Osiris's turn came, he lay down inside, not realizing the chest had been precisely measured to his body. The moment Osiris reclined inside, Set and his conspirators slammed the lid shut, sealed it with molten lead, and cast it into the Nile. Osiris perished, the first recorded fratricide in history. We walk now through a colonnade depicting Isis's desperate search. Upon learning of her husband's murder, Isis was consumed by grief, yet determined to recover his body and provide proper funerary rites, essential for afterlife existence. Cutting off a lock of her hair, donning mourning garments and shape-shifting into a bird of prey, Isis began a relentless search that would take her throughout Egypt and beyond. Her lamentations were so powerful they moved even Ra, the sun god, who sent divine assistance. Isis eventually traced the chest to Byblos, a Phoenician coastal city. There, a tamarisk tree had grown around the chest so rapidly that the king of Byblos had the tree fashioned into a pillar for his palace, unwittingly enshrining Osiris within his royal residence. Through her divine intuition and diplomatic skill, Isis secured the chest and returned it to Egypt. But Set discovered this and was infuriated. Seizing the corpse, he tore it into 14 pieces and scattered them throughout Egypt. Undeterred, Isis set forth again, this time joined by her sister Nephthys. The two goddesses traveled in a papyrus boat, searching the marshlands and riverbanks. At each location where they found a piece of Osiris, they built a shrine, explaining the origin of many sacred sites throughout Egypt. We find ourselves now in a quiet garden within the temple complex. Papyrus plants grow here, their feathery heads moving gently in the night breeze. A small pool reflects the stars. With her unparalleled magical knowledge, Isis reassembled Osiris's body. She wrapped him in linen bandages, creating the first mummy, and performed funerary rites with the assistance of Anubis. Through elaborate rituals and powerful incantations, Isis temporarily restored Osiris to life, just long enough to conceive a son who would avenge his father and reclaim the throne. This miraculous posthumous conception produced Horus, whose very name means the distant one. Knowing Set would attempt to eliminate this legitimate heir, Isis fled to the marshes of the Nile Delta, where she hid in dense papyrus thickets. There, amid dangers and difficulties, she raised her son in secret, protecting him with her magical powers. As Horus grew to manhood, he prepared for the inevitable confrontation with Set. What followed was not a simple battle, but a prolonged legal and physical struggle lasting 80 years, encompassing both physical combat and legal proceedings before a divine tribunal. The gods themselves became divided. Some supported Horus's legitimate claim as heir. Others favored Set's argument that he deserved the throne by right of strength and experience. Eventually, the divine tribunal ruled in favor of Horus. He received the throne of Egypt, while Set was given dominion over foreign lands and desert regions. This resolution established the fundamental pattern for Egyptian kingship. Each living pharaoh was considered the incarnation of Horus. Each deceased king became identified with Osiris. Meanwhile, Osiris assumed his eternal role as ruler of the Duat, the underworld, and judge of the dead. Having experienced death himself, he became the perfect arbiter for departed souls. His own resurrection, though he remained in the underworld rather than returning to earthly life, provided the model for all Egyptians who hoped for eternal existence. We sit beside the pool, listening to the gentle sound of water. The stars shine overhead, reflected in the dark surface. This sacred place holds the promise that death is not the end, that through proper preparation, proper rituals, and proper living according to Ma'at, transformation and renewal are possible. The Osiris myth gave the Egyptians hope. It taught them that even death itself could be overcome through proper action and divine assistance. We're walking now through a vast hall within the temple complex. This is a representation of the Hall of Two Truths, the place where every Egyptian hoped to stand after death, where their heart would be weighed against the feather of Mut. The walls are covered with scenes of this pivotal moment. Even in the lamplight, we can see the details clearly, painted with care and devotion by artisans who understood they were depicting the most important moment any soul would face. In the center of the hall, we see the great scales of judgment. On one pan rests a heart, the seat of intellect, emotion, and moral character in Egyptian thought. On the other pan, a single ostrich feather, the symbol of Ma'at, cosmic order, truth, and justice. Anubis, the jackal-headed god, attends to the scales, ensuring their accuracy. Thoth stands nearby with his writing palette, ready to record the verdict. And Osiris sits upon his throne, the final judge. His green skin symbolizing vegetation and rebirth, his distinctive crown representing his authority over the realm of the dead. Crouched beside the scales is a creature that embodied the Egyptians' deepest fear. Ammit, the devourer of hearts, depicted with the head of a crocodile, the front body of a lion, and the back body of a hippopotamus. Egypt's three most dangerous animals combined into a single horrifying entity. If a heart proved heavier than the feather, weighed down by sins against Ma'at, Ammit would devour it, resulting in the second death, not mere physical demise, but complete spiritual annihilation. The most terrifying fate imaginable to a people who had devoted enormous resources to ensuring eternal existence. But Ammit wasn't considered evil. She performed a necessary cosmic function, eliminating those elements that threatened Ma'at through their ethical misconduct. We move closer to another scene on the wall. Here, the deceased is shown reciting what's called the negative confession, or, more accurately, the Declaration of Innocence. It's a comprehensive list of transgressions they had not committed. I have not stolen. I have not killed. I have not lied. I have not caused pain. I have not disturbed the offerings to the gods. The list goes on, demonstrating how righteous living governed every aspect of behavior, from religious observance to social interactions to personal integrity. The Egyptians understood that no human could perfectly embody Ma'at in every moment. They weren't seeking moral perfection, but a life generally aligned with cosmic order. What mattered was the overall weight of one's existence, whether one had predominantly supported or undermined the fundamental balance. For those who successfully passed judgment, several beautiful destinations awaited. The Field of Reeds, Aru, offered an idealized version of Egyptian agricultural life, where the deceased could plow, sow, and harvest eternally abundant crops without the hardships of earthly farming. The Field of Offerings provided an eternal banquet where one received divine sustenance. The most blessed could join Ra's solar bark, participating in the eternal cosmic cycle, or go forth by day, returning to the earthly realm during daylight hours to enjoy its pleasures. We find a bench and sit, looking at these ancient paintings. The Egyptians' conception of the afterlife was remarkably optimistic, unlike some cultures that saw the afterlife as a shadowy, diminished existence. The Egyptians believed in the possibility of a fully realized, even enhanced existence beyond death. The blessed dead were called the living ones, reflecting the Egyptian view that proper preparation allowed genuine life to continue indefinitely. This is why they invested so much in tomb preparation, why they developed the world's most sophisticated preservation techniques. Why do they fill their tombs with furniture, clothing, food, games, and texts? These weren't just grave goods. They were provisions for a continuation of life in a different form. The Egyptian view of human composition was complex. They believed a person consisted of multiple elements: the physical body, the Ka, the life force, the Ba, often depicted as a human-headed bird that could travel between worlds, the shadow, the name. And when these elements were properly unified in the afterlife, they formed the Ak, the transfigured, effective spirit that could dwell among the gods and stars. Becoming an Ak was the ultimate goal, not merely continuing to exist, but achieving a transformed, divine state. Radiant, powerful, eternal. We sit here in the quiet of this sacred hall, surrounded by these ancient promises. The Egyptians created a framework for confronting mortality that emphasized continuity rather than rupture, preparation rather than fear, and the ultimate triumph of life over death. We emerge now from the temple into the cool night air. The stars are incredible, brilliant and countless. Without modern lights to dim them, they fill the sky in their full glory. We walk away from the temple complex, out into the open desert. The sand is cool beneath our feet, firm and slightly yielding with each step. The air is perfectly clean, scented with stone and sand and ancient earth. We find a place to sit on the smooth desert floor, facing east, toward where the sun will rise in a few hours, though that seems impossibly far away right now. For this moment, we have perfect darkness, perfect starlight, perfect peace. The Egyptians knew these stars intimately. They charted their movements with remarkable precision. They aligned their pyramids and temples according to stellar positions. They saw in the heavens a mirror of the sacred patterns that governed all existence. The circumpolar stars, those that never set below the horizon, were called the imperishables. The earliest pharaohs hoped to ascend to these eternal stars after death, joining this realm of unchanging celestial existence. Later, as beliefs evolved and democratized, ordinary Egyptians too could hope for stellar immortality, or they could join Ra in his solar boat, or dwell in the field of reeds, or transform into various divine forms, using the spells from the Book of the Dead. The key was knowledge. To navigate the afterlife successfully, one needed to know the names of gatekeepers, the correct spells, the geography of the underworld, the passwords required at various checkpoints. This is why they developed increasingly elaborate funerary texts The pyramid texts, humanity's oldest known religious writings, covered the interior walls of Old Kingdom royal pyramids. The coffin texts emerged later, adapting royal magic for non-royal use. Eventually, these evolved into the Book of the Dead, more accurately translated as the Book of Coming Forth by Day. We lie back on the cool sand, looking up at the river of stars overhead. The Milky Way stretches across the sky like a celestial Nile, flowing with light. The ancient Egyptians saw this as the waters through which Ra's boat sailed each night. Others saw it as a celestial manifestation of the Nile itself, or the path the Baybird souls travel between worlds. Whatever its meaning, it's beautiful. A ribbon of light crossing in the darkness, a reminder of continuity, of patterns that endure, of the eternal cycles that Ra's journey symbolized. Each night, the sun god descended into darkness. Each night, he battled Apophis, the great serpent of chaos. Each night, chaos threatened to dissolve all ordered existence back into primordial nothingness. Yet each morning, Ra emerged victorious, reborn, renewed. The light returned as it had always returned, as it would always return. This was the great promise of Egyptian religion, that what seems to end will be reborn. That darkness is temporary. That chaos, though it must be eternally opposed, can never fully triumph over order. That death itself is not final, but a transformation, a passage to another form of existence. We lie here beneath the stars, breathing slowly, peacefully. The desert holds us. The earth supports us. The stars watch over us, vast and patient. Time passes, or perhaps it doesn't pass at all. The stars wheel slowly in their ancient patterns. The desert remains still and peaceful. We rest, completely and deeply. And so our peaceful journey through mythological Egypt comes to its natural rest. We've walked beside the sacred Nile, where creation emerged from primordial waters. We visited Heliopolis, where Adam first arose upon the primeval mound. We've stood in Memphis, where Ptah spoke the universe into existence. We've honored the story of Osiris at Abydos, the tale of death overcome through love and magic. We've contemplated judgment in the Hall of Two Truths, and we've rested beneath stars that have watched over Egypt for thousands of years. But more than visiting specific places, we've touched something deeper. We've experienced what drew the ancient Egyptians to create their elaborate mythology, their understanding that existence operates in cycles of renewal. That order can be maintained against chaos. That death is not an ending, but a transformation. That proper knowledge and preparation can lead to eternal existence. As you lie here now in your bed, carry this Egyptian wisdom with you. There's no need to rush, nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to prove or accomplish. Just let go. Let the images of Egypt drift through your mind. The Nile flows eternally. Adam arising from the waters, Isis searching for her beloved. The scales of judgment balanced perfectly. Ra's boat sailing through the night sky. The stars shining on, imperishable and eternal. Let the rhythm of the river lull you. Let the wisdom of the ages settle into your bones. Let the promise of renewal enfold you in its gentle certainty. Like Ra setting over the Nile, sinking peacefully below the horizon, beginning his journey through the night, knowing with perfect certainty that he will rise again at dawn, transformed, renewed, reborn. Let yourself sink down, down into peace, restful quiet, deep restorative sleep that awaits you. The Nile flows on, eternal and unchanging. The stars wheel in their ancient patterns. The desert holds its peace, vast and quiet. Sleep now, dear traveler. Sleep deeply. Sleep peacefully.